This episode is brought to you by Portland Distro. If you love underground music and movies, go to portlanddistro.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Everything Went Black. In this episode, I finally catch up with Jamie Getz. Jamie and I go way back, way back, and we've been friends for a really long time. It's one of those things where I feel like I spoke to him 2 months ago, but it's actually been years, possibly a decade since we spoke. So yeah, it was really cool to catch up. Jamie and I used to be in the band Versoma, which some of you guys have asked about. We talk about that. We talk about Muay Thai, and we just talk about the last few years and finally becoming adults. So are you near any cities? Like, are you near Vancouver or like Victoria?
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver. Okay. I'm in Vancouver. Yeah, like Victoria is Victoria's kind of fun. Like if you go there for like a weekend or something, It's like you gotta take a boat to get there and shit. I don't know if you guys played there, if Toombs has played there or not.
Yeah, we have.
But yeah, so it's like, you know the drill. Like you take the ferry just like you're cruising like to Denmark or something, or like one of the Scandinavian spots. But like it's fucked because you go over there and like there's never any true guarantee that you're coming back on the same ferry that you booked. So it's like they always close it down for like choppy water and weather and whatnot. It's only like an hour and a half, but like for some reason that little portion gets super fucked. So I've only gone over there a couple times, but yeah, I don't know, I like it. It's fun, but that's even more secluded than here. So it's like you go there and you're literally stuck on the island, and like that's all there is to. But I mean, I would go over there and did like all the dumb shit, like cruise like the Blasphemy Ross Bay Cemetery and like track down some of those tombstones, and of course took the same fucking stupid photos just to be a dumbass. But yeah, it's cool. I like it.
You know, I used to live in Bellingham, Washington. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did. Like for some reason I knew that, and I don't know why you lived there, but like I would have to go to Bellingham like when I was moving up here to like that was the closest spot for me for like a government agency to like start doing my shit. So like I'd go there and like I remember playing Bellingham with Lickgoldensky and Hot Cross played there. And I remember being there and I was like, fuck man, I was like, I never thought I would be back in this goddamn town. But were you there for school?
No, it was right after I got out of college, and I got a job right away. And there's a Texaco refinery up there, and they sent me there for like a year.
Oh, man, how did you like it?
Dude, I got to be honest with you, man. In the early 90s, that place was kind of sick. I actually had a great time living there.
That might have been like a different thing. Like shit was probably popping off a little bit more then. Like now it's still like, it's like Sleepy Town, USA. I know people live there and like, it's fun and like it's like good to go to for like a weekend or like a day. If I was on tour and I rolled through there, I'd be like, it'd be like business as usual. I'd be like, yeah, this is cool, man. You know, it's fun, like little town, but anything more than that, I'd fucking go wild, I think.
When I first went out there, it was like the early 90s. And you know, I was pissed because all I knew was like New York and Boston. That's it. Because I went to school in Boston. You know, I grew up in New York State and going into the city and maybe Philly here and there, Long Island. So I was very much like an East Coast person. And I was like, what the fuck is this, man? This fucking, like, this is some fucking remote Eskimo shit.
Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. Asphalt everything. Like, you know where I'm coming from with that one.
But after a while, I was like, dude, there was 3 venues in that town, and they were getting, like Tad was playing there, and fucking Mudhoney, and, like, all these shows were going on, and there was, like, mad like chicks with like, you know, cool like chicks that want to hang out and stuff. And I was like, I'm like, oh wow, because like, you know, in New York, like me growing up, I was used to like no one being friendly at all, you know. So I would go out, I didn't know anybody, and it was like, you know, I'm like, oh shit, there's like this place called the Up and Up, there's like this fucking other spot, you know, there's like shows happening, Reverend Horton Heat's playing. So I'd go, and like women would come up and talk to me because I was different. Like they didn't know that I was like, you're new in town. Hi. You know, and it's like, wow, this is like, I'm like, what, you know, what am I going to get jumped and someone's going to take my wallet or like.
Right. Like that's the normal thinking for like guys of like, you're a little bit older than me, but like for people of our age bracket, like I think that was like the mentality. Like if I rolled up to a show like in a different city by myself, that was my first fucking thought. I was like, oh no, man, like these dudes are coming over to me, or like this girl's coming over to me. Is this like a setup? Am I going to get rolled? You know, my pockets are going to get run. So when you go, like even here now, man, like I think it's just like a West Coast vibe. Like it's a little bit more laid back. Like I have a hard fucking time with people being nice.
Yeah, me
And I'm
too, man.
serious. I'm like dead serious. It's like people like it took me a long time just to be able to like learn how to say like thanks. Like if somebody says something nice or something positive, because I always think someone's trying to like work an angle or work a scheme on me. So like even like right now, like with like the handful of people that I'm like friendly with here, it's like when they say something, I have to legitimately, instead of like going into defense mode, I have to be like, nah, it's cool. Like, all right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You know, that took a fucking lot of work for me to be able to like say that shit.
Yeah, it's weird. So yeah, it was. I mean, Bellingham was sick, man. But then like over the years, it just became more and more generic. I think because I've been back there a few times over the last couple of decades, and now it just looks like mad, like gentrified and like generic. But back then, it was like a little bit more rustic and kind of outsider ish. There used to be like a fucking colony of like homeless people that lived. You would actually be able to see it if you were going up the I-5 into Canada, like going north. You would look over into the woods and you'd see like this encampment of like homeless dudes and I guess women too. And every now and then they would migrate into Bellingham and like, but they were like these like Charlie Manson style, like homeless people. They would hang out. There would be like, there was a coffee shop. And look, I was young. I was like in my early 20s, man. So I was like that perfect age to be out and about in that world. And, there's a coffee place called Tony's Coffee, that outdoor patio. Like these like Charlie Manson looking motherfuckers would show up with acoustic guitars and, try to talk scam on chicks and stuff and get money. And it was just like a cool town, man. And that's when I went into Vancouver. That was before I was like really touring or anything like that, and, but yeah, Vancouver, Victoria, I visited that whole area. It was kind of nice up there.
Yeah, you can bounce around to like all the ferries. Like my wife and I, bounce around to all the islands. Like my wife and I went for her birthday's New Year's Eve. It's such a fucking conundrum to try to plan or do anything. But the one year, me and some of her friends went to like some teeny tiny island. And we fucking got there, and like this is what I was saying about there's no guarantee you're coming back on the same one. We got there was a power outage. We're on this fucking island that has absolutely nothing. Like you got to get all your supplies in or out. And that's when I was just like, fuck this. I am never going out into nature ever again. I will fucking camp my ass straight to a fucking Motel 6 if I have to. And that's even slumming it for me because over the years I've become a fucking straight snob with that. I'm not staying in some rat ball hotel. And I'm definitely not fucking sleeping in a tent. So that is done and over, and my wife is in full agreement with me on that one, and I was like, thank fucking God, man. So anytime someone's like, we're gonna rent a cabin, it's like, yeah, you fucking go right ahead. Like, tell me all about it when you fucking come back. But yeah, like, not to cut you off, but like Bellingham, man, like going back to what you said, I just want to touch on one thing. I never saw Tad ever. And that's like a regret that I have because when I was a kid, like 7th, 8th grade, like the Jack Pepsi single came out.
Right.
I listened to that thing probably more times than I ever have in my fucking life. And I was at the Sub Pop office when I was working for Don Gibson. And I walked in there and they're like, hey, do you want anything? And I was like, yes, I want a Tad Jack Pepsi fucking like CD single. And almost everybody in the room just stared at me and they were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, you should all be fucking fired because you have no idea what you don't even know what you have right now. And there was one dude there that was like laughing at me and he's like, you are never getting that thing. And he's like, I haven't even seen that in 20 years. And I was like, yeah, well, I fucking want it because I have no idea what happened to mine. And I listened to that fucking thing on repeat over and over and over and over again. But yeah, Tad's the shit, man. I was just bummed I never got to see them.
Yeah, I saw them a couple times, man. And like I was saying, just back to that small town, it was like all these crazy shows would come through and I would see all these bands like right before the big explosion. For example, I saw Screaming Trees at this place called the 3B. And, you could probably fit like maybe 100 people there, if that. Maybe,
I'm assuming
maybe
that was
even.
right before. I'm assuming that was right before like the big record popped off with that big single that they had there for a minute.
Well, I can tell you what record was out, and it was that Uncle Anesthesia record was out. So they did have a major label record out, but I think the one after that one is what blew them up when they were playing like fucking 1,000 capacity places.
Yeah, what a weird band, man. Because like there's some people that like still freak out about that band, and then there's other people that are like, this band fucking sucks.
Nah,
But like
man, they're great. I love them, man. I thought they were great.
yeah, it's like there's like some serious like riffs going on those records, like underrated, like undercover riffs. I think it was like a little bit of like a weird place, weird time. Like if there would have been a dude screaming over that stuff when I was a kid, I would have probably been like, this is fucking awesome. But like I couldn't get into it as a kid because I was like, he's like singing. I'm not too into that. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted pissed. I wanted angry. I wanted alienating. And like that wasn't alienating enough.
Well, the thing is, I missed out on the SST era of the band too, because they
Right.
have all these like psychedelic kind of garage records that came out, which was definitely not my jam. But for me, it was like that perfect, like that year period where I got out of college and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to be like a part of society here for a little bit, and like
How'd that work out for you?
obviously that didn't work out too well. And I'm like, but then they send me to they isolate me from everyone. They put me in some weird setting like this. And of course I gravitate back towards the things I'm familiar with. But like, I'm like, what do I do? Like, I'm going to hang out with people I work with? No, I'm going to go where I'm a fucking 22-year-old dude, And, but I was into that whole like early 90s, like record store, chicks with sweaters, like that kind of thing for like a year. And then shit changed drastically right because I quit my job, and that started my whole other exploration into, the path of the left-hand path or whatever,
Yeah, now here you are fucking 5 decades later. Like, but you know what though, man? Like you always like even when I first met you, like I always like just from like speaking with you, like I knew what you went to school for and I knew what you did and shit. So I was always like a little bit envious of you in that world because I was like, fuck man. I was like, I should have done what Mike did. Like I should have gone to school and I should have like still been a punk like on the side, but still going to school. And because like I was always like, fuck man, I was like, Mike's got the best of both worlds now, but he put the time in. I just didn't want to put the time in. Like I just like I got bit with like that like tour or travel bug like really early, and I was like, this is the only thing I want to do. I want to be someplace different every day. And then I'd come home from tour and I would talk with you about stuff, and you'd be like, yo, I gotta go, I'm at work. And I was like, fuck man, I was like, Mike's at work, like I'm like counting pennies, you know what I mean? I was like, so they, like that was like always something that like I found commendable with what you did in your like your path in life for that stuff.
Well, it's funny because I would quit these like pretty high paying jobs like every like 6 months or a year or whatever. I'd be like, the cycle would be like, all right, we're going to do like a 2-week tour. I can go away for 2 weeks. No problem. Right. Then like a record would come out and be like, all right, we got to go away for like, 2 back-to-back, like US European tours. And I'm like, all right, guys, here's my 2-week notice. And they're like, well, wait, where are you going? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm leaving. And then
so none of your professional people ever really knew about like your personal stuff, like what you were doing with that?
The funny thing about that is over the years, I actually went back to work for this company that I worked for on and off for like a long time. And it turns out that they're like, yeah, how's music? And I'm like, oh, it's cool. But it's super, super flexible. Like even before all this pandemic stuff, I was like working on my own, like at home. I would, as long as I gave people notice about like, okay, I'm going to be gone between this time. They're like, all right, no problem. It's a huge enough company where they can, you can get someone else to do shit for you. And, but yeah, like the people that matter know my deal, but I've always been like this lurker, at the office. I don't really talk to many people. Like,
lurker at the office.
No, I don't really interact with too many people. Like I'm not like going to the after work like hangouts, or any of that kind of shit really. I never really did that stuff. So no one really knew what my deal was. They're just like, oh, that guy comes in like super early. He's always here when everyone shows up. He's wearing black. He's got some weird like sweatshirt on, and that's about everything knows. Everything. That's all anyone knows about me really.
Yeah, that's totally fair, man. Like like what you said too about like hanging out with people after work. Like I just since I moved up here got my first quote unquote like real job. I never really had a job, man. Like I worked construction. Yeah, it's like I worked construction when I was a kid for my friend's dad. that was what I did, like, when I first, like, even in my very first band, like, I was still like, if I fucking work for this guy from May until the end of July, I know that my teeny tiny rap ball hardcore band can go try to do a tour in August, and then I'll be back in school for 11th grade or 12th grade or whatever it was. And that's what I did over the summers. And then I just did music for a while, and like I was getting away with it, where I was like, man, I'm fucking king of the world. Like, I'm in my own like fucking cosmos, and everything's fallen into place for me. Meanwhile, it's like a kid at the mall making minimum wage was making way more money than me, but like I was just playing a guitar and a bass, like fucking rolling around because I learned how to play a power chord, like pulling the fucking wool over everybody's eye, you know? And then after that, I worked at Very, which was like a real job, but like not really at all. And then I moved here and I was like, shit, dude, I was like, I gotta get like a proper job. And like now I have like a fucking fancy pants, like government fucking job working for the city. So I don't relate to that shit either about like going out with people. Like dudes at work and like girls at work will be like, hey, like you want to do this? I'm like, absolutely fucking not. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't relate to you. I don't know how to talk to you about this stuff. Anything I can say to you is going to be a straight up lie. And like, I don't watch hockey, so I don't have anything in common with you, man. And like, no, I didn't watch this show last night, and no, I didn't do that. So it's it's a bizarro one, and it really forces you how to you gotta like almost be like a really good fucking liar with some of these people. And then it's also like it's not even worth it. And anybody that's into like punk or hardcore or skateboarding or any sort of alternative like lifestyle, you can't explain that stuff to people. And it's just like my dad is fucking super into like fucking old cars. That's like my dad trying to talk to me about old cars. I'm like, just shut up. I don't have any idea what you're talking about, and I don't fucking know it. And that's the way that I feel other people are too. So I'm like, it's not even fucking worth it for me to talk to you about this stuff. So sometimes dudes will be like, I was at the bar last night. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like not fucking at all, man. Like I was doing other shit, but I can't even break it down to you. So that's like, I think that's a universal thing for people like us, probably.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I remember like not so much these days, but a while back, when I was working in Manhattan, there would be these like events, and everyone's like, hey, it's Friday, like we're gonna go to this place, and we're gonna cut loose, man. We're gonna like, we're gonna get crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I've like hung out with I Hate God, dude. I'm like, that. What can you possibly do that is like as crazy as that? That's getting crazy. Not going to this fucking place in Midtown Manhattan,
Yeah, and then also like, meanwhile, in your head, you're probably like Friday night, like I gotta meet fucking Joel and Scott. We're gonna lock ourselves in this fucking shithole building in fucking Ridgewood that nobody can get in or out of the front door properly, and we're gonna fucking just, we're not gonna talk. We're just gonna fucking grind for a fucking hour and a half, and then we're still not gonna talk, and we're just gonna come back the next night. So like, how do you explain that to somebody? Like, what are you doing tonight, man? Well, actually, I'm gonna go to the fucking practice space. I'm gonna fucking put my head down. I'm not gonna look up, and when an hour and a half, I'm gonna be fucking done, and then I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna probably drink coffee at midnight. Like, how do you explain that? Like, how the fuck do you explain that to somebody? They're gonna be like, fucking all right, man, straight up fucking taxi cab driver in this fucking in real life in this office. That dude with the black sweatshirt's a fucking kook. So but yeah, I don't know, man. It's funny, like having like a real job too was like, it was a long time coming for me. I just managed to like figure out a way to like quote unquote like stay like a punk kid for like way longer than I fucking should have. You know what I mean? And I said it earlier and I meant it. Like, I'm not a fucking proficient guitar player. I fucking eked out like a living, like legitimately banging around on power chords. And I equate that to Paige Hamilton. Because I read an interview when I was like a little kid in a local fanzine. And it was like right before Meantime came out, I guess. And he legitimately said something that stuck to me. And like, I've always wanted that. Where he was just like, hey, I know jazz, I know guitar theory, like I know how to do all this stuff. He was like, but there's an entire world within drop D. And I was like, oh shit, man. I was like, that makes sense. And then I started listening to Helmet and I was like, I just want to be like 30 seconds of like the boring annoying guitar solo. That's all I want out of my life. And that's the only thing I tried to do on my guitar until I like learned how to play a little bit more. Then of course, like every fucking dumbass, I thought that like I was going to be like some guitar ripper. And I was like, I'm too good to just fucking bang around and do that. And then it just kind of ruined every band I played in. So that's how that fucking went.
I wouldn't say that, man. I mean, you know, it's like the Lickgoldensky stuff is, I think, more about like songwriting, really, you know, and then obviously the Gods and Queens stuff, I think, is like songwriting stuff. It's not drop D. Well, maybe it isn't drop D technically, but it's not just like, you know, ignorant slamming, you know.
No, yeah, you're right. It was like, I guess like with the LGS stuff, I think like myself and Hodges at the time, and even like the precursor, like with Jay and like the other guys that were in and out of that band and Herb himself, like there was so much happening like music wise, and we were all still young and we were like still super excited and we wanted to be on tour all the time. But like the main gig with that band was like right out of the gate was just like we wanted to be like Soylent Green, I Hate God, and Buzz Omen. Like that was like what we wanted to do. It didn't really translate that way, and that was like intentional because we were like, but we don't want to be like a ripoff of those bands. Like I don't want to get up there and just like bang out like fucking Sister Fucker Part 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, it was like all about like the attitude, and like for us, the attitude at that time was like way more heavy on the Buzz Oven trip about just trying to be completely fucking alienating to people. And then over time, as like people cycled in and out of the band and like I got like a little bit more like proficient with like playing my guitar, then like the infamous like influences start to seep in, and it's like, wait, I learned how to do this on guitar, like maybe I can try to do that. And then all of a sudden like the initial like oomph of the band is gone, and then it starts to like change. But like that whole band, like doing that was like a I don't know how can I even put it, like it was cool and it sucked at the same time, because like all I wanted to do was be on tour. That was it. I just wanted to like play, and that band was like all that we tried to do. And then when that band broke up, then like me, you, Greg, and Brad tried to do the Versoma band, and I was like, okay, I want to try to be a little bit more diplomatic in this, and I want to try to like actually play my guitar a little bit more. And then that one too, like I wasn't like personally happy with that one, because I felt like at that point, like I was like, I'm going to be a little bit more open, and I'm going to try to be more subjective to other people's ideas. And like, I don't play well in that department.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
You know what I mean? And like you can interject yourself on that one, because I think that like with that band, it was like a little bit of the same thing, where it was like everybody was coming off fresh of like their own bands breaking up. And it was just like, all right, let's try to do this together. Like, we're all friendly, but like nobody wanted to be the one to like stomp their foot down and be like, this is how it's going to fucking be. And like, it did happen, but like in a like real passive aggressive way, which I also like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm a confrontational fucking type of guy. Like, I like, it's not that I thrive on conflict, but I would rather have that really intense 5 to 10 minute conversation where it's a straight up fucking blowout, but everybody knows exactly where everybody fucking stands, and then you move from there. Otherwise, it like harbors resentment. And I don't think that like there was resentment, but I think that if that band kept going, there would have either been the blow up, or there would have been like a decisive like quote unquote leader would have come out of that fucking thing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. And then like we'll cycle back to that in a second. But like the Gods and Queens stuff, like, man, I just want to be Bob Mould. Like, that's straight up. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean,
like,
that's like, you know, kind of taking a point from what you just said. That's really you doing your own thing, which was like really what you probably should have been doing in the beginning anyway, you know?
right, yeah. And it was just like, it like the two, when the Versoma thing like fell apart, it was like, I'm pretty positive, if I remember right, you and I'm spacing out, the dude that we tried out last to play drums, like immediately went on to start doing Tombs.
Pretty much,
then yeah, and then I just kind of like, I think Robin played drums on a tour. You introduced me to Robin, and like at the time, I like got along with him like pretty well, and was like, oh, I'm gonna probably just try to keep playing with Robin. Like he's in like some of the same shit, like Mount Shasta and like fucking Lowercase and like all these other bands, and that just was like a normal thing, and like it went on. But like with the Gods and Queens stuff, like I liked that band for the most part, but like other people didn't. Like it was a catastrophic failure. So it's like maybe it was like wrong place, wrong time, or like maybe people thought my vocals sucked, or like maybe they thought the band just sucked, and that's totally okay too. But I had a fine time with that.
Actually, Robin was the only guy who actually played drums on the tour. He was
shit,
like,
really?
Literally, he was our drummer for the live performances that we did, because we only did like probably like 20 shows in all, you know?
Yeah, and in my head, like I have it like screwed up, I think, because like I know that we did shit with like Red Sparrows, and I know that we did shit with ISIS, but sometimes I think it was the same thing. And I'm like, I don't think we did a tour
No,
with Red Sparrows and
we
ISIS,
did
but
we did a tour with Red Sparrows and Daughters. Okay.
oh yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
And that one was with me, you, Tom, and Robin. Okay.
Okay.
And then we did these fill-in dates because ISIS was on the tour with Tool.
Tool. Yeah, okay,
And
okay.
they had days off, so we would have like a Thursday night in like Providence and like a Monday night in Baltimore or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Okay.
And
That's like
Robin did
makes
those
a little bit more
too.
clarity.
And like I think
Shit,
we
I didn't
only
realize that.
played, I think we only played 2 shows with Greg and Brad live.
I don't remember playing any shows with Greg and Brad.
Well, they were on the record. And this is the funny thing. And the reason there's been requests for me to get you on this podcast, actually, which is
Great.
because everyone's like, oh, fucking, you know, you and Jamie was fucking, you fucking hate each other. I'm like, no, not at all, dude. It's like, they're like, man, that Versoma record is great. I'm like, no, it's not. It's like a fucking mixtape and like,
Dude, yeah,
know.
it's a bunch of half-baked ideas
Yeah.
that like, but like going, like now that we're on this subject here with this, like, I don't know if you remember, but like, it's also like this is like memory lane right now, and like it's probably only like interesting to guys like me and you, and like maybe like 1 or 2 other people. But like from my standpoint, what I remember about that, and I remember being at work at Very, and like you guys wanted to post like a rehearsal tape thing. And I was like, I fucking hate this. I was like, I don't like. Why are we posting like a rehearsal tape? But everybody was excited because they wanted to be like, this is our new thing, and it wanted to come out. And I remember that I was just like, I don't agree with this. Like, I don't think that we should do that. We should wait for like a full thing. And then of course, like it gets posted, and then Andy Lowe right away from Robotic Empire was like, we have to do a record like within like fucking minutes. You know what I mean? And I was like. And I felt like that just put like unwarranted and unneeded pressure because I guess like other people like don't realize because it was just you and I, but like you and I were like trying to like pop this off like before Greg and Brad were ever even in the picture because like we had Jared Shavelson, who Jared was in the Hope Conspiracy, and like now Jared I think is in the Bronx. He's also in the Mariachi El Bronx. Like he's a go-to like LA studio like session dude. Like I think he's got like his own signature drumsticks and shit. And like we had Jared, and then we had Miles from Books Lie as well.
Right.
Like we were playing,
we
were playing with those dudes for like, we were playing with those dudes for a little while, and like, you know, Miles is like was starting to tattoo at that time, I think, or maybe he already was. So like, he's super successful in that, and Jared's like Jared got what he wanted. Like he always was like, I just want to play my drums, and like Jared is just a fucking drummer now. Like he scope him out, like he's like pretty like successful in that depot, but we had those guys, and then like Greg and Brad, and like I said, like everybody was excited to like get it going. But I also remember like going to practice at that weird space in Philly, and I remember we were like down tuned for some stuff, and like I just remember Brad being like, "Well, I'm just gonna stay in E," and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?" You know what I mean? I was like, the whole purpose of like down tuning is to get that little extra oomph, and it's gonna be like help cheat on the vocals a little bit because like I'm not trying to just fucking scream my lungs out anymore. So it was like a cultivation of like I said, like me personally felt like it was like half-baked ideas, and like there was no purpose in that was going to be like the iron fist, even though like I think that all of us kind of wanted to do that. I think that nobody wanted to do it at the same time. But yeah, I don't know, like that band, like it was like kind of cool, like kind of not cool, but like it's not a record that like I ever listened to again. No. Like sometimes like people will bring it up to me and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You know what I mean? And then it's like, I'll put it on. I'll be like, yeah, I'll continue to forget about it.
It's like, it's almost like I imagine like the Egg Hunt record, that 7-inch that Ian Mackay did like years ago. Like, that's how I see it. It's like, something we did. It's cool. We did a few shows, you know, it's like definitely was the right time to call it quits on that. And like the one thing I have to put on the record though, is I did, after multiple people asked me about doing something about Versoma, I went back and I listened to the record in its entirety, and I have to say I should have only played guitar in that band. You know, I think my vocals were fucking totally out of place. My lyric writing ability was not to the level it is now, and it's like not the most developed performances or writing on my end.
but it wasn't developed on anybody's end. Like, to me, that band was like I said earlier, it was like a bunch of dudes that stopped playing in their respective bands, trying to do something else, and I felt like it was rushed. And
Totally. Yeah.
I felt like it was rushed because like everybody was like, we were all dumbasses. Like we were legitimately like we were all still younger. We were all like a little bit like still stuck in like Peter Pan mode where it was like we all just want to be on tour. Anodyne toured themselves into the ground. Lickgoldensky definitely tore itself into the fucking ground. Brad had fucking 10 million bands that he played in, like Orchid, Wolves, Bucket Full of Teeth, like all this other shit. And Greg was like running himself into the ground with Hot Cross towards the end, and then also doing Level Plane. And I think that like everybody just wanted to keep the ball rolling, you know, like Rolling Stone gathers no moss, right? So like everyone wanted to keep moving forward, but I think that would have maybe benefited from either pulling it back and not doing it and like jamming out a little bit more and being like, hey, this lineup doesn't really fucking cut the mustard, or like, hey, this is starting to fucking work. Let's actually put some real fucking thought into this a little bit. But that's just my opinion. Everyone else could like differ completely. For all I know, maybe Greg and Brad are like, those two dudes fucking suck. Fuck them.
I'm
like,
sure that's
you know
how
what
they
I'm
feel
saying?
about it. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, this is just like an A and B conversation. And like, it's not fair for me to like talk for those guys or talk really about those guys. But like, they could have a completely different outlook than like what you and I had on it. Because in my head, I remember also like sitting at that practice space in Philly, trying to play to a looped click track, and like it wasn't happening. And Greg would be like, "The loop is off," and I was like, "No, dude, like you're living in the rhythm free zone." Like, you know what I mean? I was just like,
Yeah.
the fucking the click is the click, brother. Like it ain't fucking switching up, man. Like that's your fucking heavy lead foot that ain't fucking coming back fast enough. But like, you know, Greg might have something totally different to say, and Brad might have been like, "Those guys are fucking stupid," you know, like I didn't want to do any of this. But and that's fair, and it is valid because that's their point, and like that's their perception of how it was. But like for you and I talking right now, like I think that we could probably agree that just was like, you know, like I said it a bunch, like half-baked ideas. But yeah, I don't know, some people have asked me time to time too, like they're just like, "Oh, are you and Mike cool?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You know what I mean? I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And it's even like people that like you and I are friends with.
That's
You know
really
what I
funny
mean?
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's also just like, what are you talking about, man? I was like, that band pretty much just fizzled out, and it was just like, I don't really want to do this. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do my own thing. I was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
there was no big blowout. There was no, you know, like in some cases, bands break up, and not everyone wants it to end. You know, it's like
right.
There's like the guy who's like, well, I was planning on doing this for the rest of my life or whatever, you know, and like that wasn't the case. We were just like, all right, you know, it kind of ran its course. It was like this experiment, I guess, and we just kind of like did what we're gonna do, and now move on. You know, it's pretty much the vibe.
Yeah, and it's just like it just didn't happen. You know what annoyed me though was like how many people would be like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Start another band and it's just gonna break up?" And I'm like, "Fuck you, idiot!" Like we fucking ran through so many people to try to get this together. We got a lineup that fucking fell apart. It's not like you and I fucking quit. You know what I mean? It was like other people dropped out, and then we scrounged together another lineup to keep it going, and that fell apart too. And it's like it's not like you and I like woke up in the morning, or I woke up and I was like, can't wait to kick somebody out of the band today. You know what I mean? Like, let's get Andy Lowe and Robotic Empire to waste fucking $5,000, like paying for a recording and pressing this record so we can just break up and fuck them over. That's not like the focal point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, and the reality too, it's like, oh yeah, just make another band. It's like, well, we made a record and we went on tour. What did you do? You like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, stayed home and didn't do anything, or you know, thought about making a record or playing a guitar and not taking your guitar out of your case because you were doing video games or whatever.
You know what, man? Like you're like nailing something right now, and like maybe like other guys and girls that are in bands could relate to this too. But I would be gone so much in my early 20s, and I would come back around, and I would be back in Philly or back at like my parents' house or something, and people would be like, "Oh, look who's back!" Blah 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 blah. Like, "Oh, how you're fucking trying to do this? You're trying to do that?" And I was like, "Actually, I am trying to fucking do it." Like, what are you doing? You're sitting at the same fucking bar, drinking the same fucking shitty like fucking PBR beer with your fucking shot of Heaven Hill for $3 on a fucking Thursday night. So piss right off. Like, so yeah, I am fucking trying to do something. Like, and what you're just saying is right. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, are you going to your practice space? Are you like doing anything? Are you just sitting here talking about what you're going to get accomplished? And that, I think, sometimes was a detriment to my life, because like all I wanted to do, Mike, was like, I just wanted to be gone. And like, maybe you can relate to that. And like, by hook or by crook, like I was going to be gone. And if that meant that like, hey, I can't do that tour, out. Someone else is going to do it. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, I don't think we should do this. Well, too bad. I think that we are doing that. Like, I was like running a ship, like at least with LGS, is like an iron fisted dictator, which like, you know, made me a very unpopular person with a lot of people. But the way that I saw it was, I just want to be fucking gone, man. And like, I was an idiot. I was a fucking 20-year-old kid who didn't know fucking shit about shit. But I knew that I just wanted to like play my guitar and I wanted to be gone. And I wasn't really too worried about like friendships or how like my own ego affected other people. You know what I mean? So like I just wanted to fucking, if I wanted to leave, we were fucking leaving. I don't care who you were. I didn't care what you did in the band. Like if I had my mind made up, like we were fucking out, and that was the fucking end of it. And like when I didn't try to be like that, I didn't like it.
Yeah, dude, totally, man.
So it was like, you know, and like I think that was like a thing like Versoma wise, where like I was actively trying to not be like that as a person, and I fucking don't play well with others. And like it wasn't like fucking, it wasn't the vibe, like it wasn't the trip that I was looking for. And then even like Gods and Queens wise, like I feel like it was like subconsciously almost a 3-piece on purpose, because I was like one less fucking person to argue with me. You know, that was like the way that I was like looking at that one. But I don't know, maybe like you can totally relate to that one. Like maybe you can't, or maybe there's people that are going to check this out and listen to it and they're like, yeah, man, I can. But I'll fucking say like a heed to warning, like the minute that like you drop that like fucking personal ego on that stuff, your whole fucking life like changes a little bit, because it's like, man, none of us are in Metallica. We're all in like, we play in shitty punk bands. I don't care if it's a metal band or it's an indie rock band. We all play in fucking shitty punk bands. The day that your last fucking show happens, you still got to get a fucking job. It's not like this is anybody's like fucking pension plan, you know? So I wish I would have taken things a lot less seriously. And I wish that I would have been a lot less abrasive with things and towards people. But at the same time, like, that's just who I fucking was at that time. And I can't like fucking sit here and like pine about it. It's like, yeah, man, I was a motherfucker to a lot of people, and I was fucking obnoxious, and that's it. And that's who I was at that fucking point, and I can't apologize for it. But like, I'm cognitive enough at least know that like, man, I fucking stomped on a lot of people's feet, but I got what I wanted. So I'm not sure how I feel about that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally, man. You know, it's funny, just touching on a couple things that you mentioned, like when Anodyne broke up, I remember we all met at McCarran Park, like it was like some fucking showdown. And it wasn't even like, there was no animosity. Like we all were kind of moving in different directions anyway. And I remember we all got together, and Joel and I were living together at the time. So that was real easy. You know?
Sure. I remember that. Yeah.
And, yeah, we just were like, all right, cool. Like, who wants to continue doing the band? And we're just like, no one wanted to do it anymore. I go, should we cancel the European tour we had? We decided yes to do that, because how miserable would that be to go over there and know that that's it? You know, even though, you know, we were kind of like the tour was booked already, and that dude Robert from Zon, we were supposed to go out with them.
Sure, Robert's the fucking man.
Yeah, and he booked it, and I was like, oh man, we gotta, you know, like, but hey, after 4 weeks of that, knowing that not everyone's into it, I think that was the right move, is to break that, you know, not do that tour, you know.
Sure, absolutely.
And I had this feeling, the minute I left all those guys, I had this feeling of panic that I had to fucking stay home. And it was like, now what am I going to do, man? I got to be part of the fucking society, you know, and figure out, you were
the dude at the water cooler at work now. You were just another like swinging dick at work.
Yeah. And you know, whatever relationships I was running away from, or personal, you know, shortcomings
you're nailing so much stuff, and like, it's like, this is like a bad therapy session, but can continue, because I'll go back to like something that you just said.
Yeah. You know, and And that's what Versoma was. Oh, okay, Jamie likes to tour. It's like,
exactly.
Finally, we got. I don't have to think about all these things that have been piling up, that have been basically wrecking my life, and continued to wreck my life for like another decade after that. And but that's kind of like looking back. It's like the other thing too is the desire to be away all the time also puts you in a position where maybe your decision making on the things you do while you're away, like taking tours you probably shouldn't have taken.
Yep.
That's a detrimental thing, and now at the very least, I still have problems being home, but like, at least now, like I try to have a better decision-making process about what we end up doing and what we pass on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like, it's probably painful for you as well to like physically have to be like, we got to pass on this tour. Because it's like, to me, if I was never going to cancel a tour, because like I wanted to be away, you know what I mean? And like B, I was just like, if we cancel, we're losing momentum. But like the reality is, we should have probably did, in all of the bands I played in, we should have probably did half the amount of touring that like we ever did. And that goes for even the bands that like I filled in for as like a hired gun. So it was like everyone should have done half. Like no one's going to forget about your band. But I think like when you're young and like you're excited and you want to get out there and you want to do it and you start seeing things, especially like when you start leaving the country and like you start going to Europe, Australia, etc., like you start seeing other shit. And for me, I was like, I wanted to see more. I wanted to go to more places. I wanted to keep like putting X's in my passport next to places I went to. But at what cost, man? Like I was fucking up everything. Like I was fucking up my whole life. You know what I mean? I was like living in a 1-bedroom apartment in like the fucking cut of Philadelphia because that was what I could afford. And then I was also, and it was all, that's what I could afford because like I only wanted to play music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like meanwhile, it's like I'm looking at my friends and like I had like a bunch of friends at the time who were like in the Boilermakers Union. Like my one friend's driving like a brand new Hummer. Like don't get me wrong, I don't want a fucking Hummer, but just for the context, like the dude's driving a fucking Hummer. He's like fucking 10 years younger than me, and he's like living by himself in this fucking massive ass apartment, and he's like buying and selling houses. And meanwhile, like he's like, oh man, I wish I could be going to the places that you're going to. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I wish I had the fucking bank account that you have. And I do want some of the stuff that you have. I don't need a Hummer. I'd be happy with a fucking Corolla. But like, you know where I'm getting to with this stuff. And it was the same shit, man. And it was like, I just wanted to be gone all the time because I wasn't good in fucking relationships. That took a long fucking time. I wasn't good with friendships. That took a long time as well. And like, I just wasn't good at being a fucking grown up yet. And I wasn't good at being a grown up because I was fucking too busy trying to be gone all the goddamn time. So like in a weird way, like skateboarding and punk like fucked my whole life up. And then at the other like flip of the same hand, it's like it's also the best thing that ever happened. But I just kind of think that like it was the right time and place for me to like kind of bow out gracefully, whether or not it was because I got married and had a kid. It was just the right time, man. Like I had to like start figuring it out because like I would be on these bigger tours too, and I would look at people and I'd be like, well, you're in your 50s. You're an absolute fucking freak show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was
totally,
like, yeah. And it's also like, it's not like we're working for fucking Q Prime. Like we're not on tour with U2, the Chili Peppers, or like Metallica or someone. Like we're in like a fucking 300 capacity smoke-filled shithole on a fucking Wednesday night in Des Moines, Iowa, and there's only 100 people here. Like, let's let fucking reality set in on this. Like not every night's going to be New York or Los Angeles. So it was like a weird thing for me. And also too, like when you said that you had like anxiety about like stopping, like when Versoma stopped, I just did drugs, man, for fucking years. Like straight up. Like I'm not even gonna fucking lie about it, man. Like I was just fucking doing drugs. Like it was fucking going out of style. And furthermore, I had a fucking fantastic time. It was the fucking best. Like, I'm not even going to fucking front. And then at one point, it just stopped being the best. And it was like an after school special where, like, I was like, man, what the fuck am I doing? I was like, I kind of had a good enough time here, but like, I'm like at home on a weekend. It's fucking 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm still awake and I'm probably not going to go to bed until 6 o'clock tomorrow. And then I'm going to stay asleep all of Sunday so I can like drag my ass into work on fucking Monday morning at 10 a.m. to do the whole thing all over again. So at one point, like I kind of just I think I had a Sprint flip phone still, or like maybe a Razor fucking phone. But like I just changed my phone number, threw my old SIM card out, deleted everyone's number, and like I was just like a ghost for like a while. And like that was just kind of like for my own mental well being, because I was like, man, I'm not this fucking dude. I was like, but I fully was, you know what I mean? But I was like, that's not me. But I just kind of dropped out myself for a little while there, and then I hit up Ben and I hit up Robin and started playing music again. And like then I was like, okay, man, like this is cool. And then I went back to like being an asshole. But I felt like I needed that. You know what I mean? Like I was like, all right, man. I was like, I can't be a regular dude. That's not in the fucking cards for me yet. I was like, but I do know how to do this. And you brought his name up, but I was still working at Very. We recorded like a couple songs. Andy Lowe again from Robotic was like, hey, I want to put this out. And I was like, cool. And he was like, but I only have US distribution. And I just happened to get an email from Robert from Adagio at Very about getting records off of him. And I just wrote him back. I was like, hey, Robert, like, blah, blah, blah. I have this new band. I kind of hope it sounds like Lungfish in June of 44. Would you want to check it out? He's like, yeah, send it over. And I get an email back, and he's like, yeah, I would love to put this out. So I was like, man, that was fucking easy. You know what I mean?
No,
so like,
sometimes it's like that, man.
yeah. And then like right away, back in the fucking saddle. You know what I'm saying? And then it was like, Gods and Queens played very minimal shows over here. Like we did some stuff with Coliseum, we did some stuff with Young Widows, who Evan and Ryan, I gotta say, like, nothing but the utmost respect for both of those dudes. Especially like, you know, I'm pushing like my mid 40s now, so it's like I've known those guys for over 20 years and like still talk to both of them periodically. But like they both helped us out. And we did some other stuff. I think we played a couple shows with Tombs maybe as well. I think when Planks was over.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Robert hooked up the first European tour, and we went over there, and it wasn't good, you know, but it wasn't bad either. But like I was just like, oh, we can come back again. I hate when American bands do this shit where they go to Europe once and then they break up, or they go to Europe fully well knowing that they're not coming back. And then you also have these people that go over to Europe for the like once or twice, and they're like, I fucking hate it here, man. The food's fucking terrible. This, that. It's like, oh, suck it the fuck up, man. So you think that like all of fucking Australasia and like all the European continents and Scandinavia, those people don't know how to eat food? You know what I mean? It's like, shut the fuck up, go to the grocery store, buy a fucking apple and eat it. You know, if you eat meat, there's fucking McDonald's, you fucking slob. Go eat that. Like, I don't understand this whole concept of like people that complain about shit like that. Europe's fucking cool. Going on tour in Europe is fucking cool. Granted, some nights when you gotta sleep in a fucking dump, I get fucking piss ass about it. But like I said, I'm a fucking snob and I'm an adult. So towards the end, I'd be like, I'm getting a fucking hotel. I'm not staying here. Like, I don't fucking need punk points right now. But I'm going on a tangent. But anyway, like, Gods and Queens toured Europe a lot, and that was because of Robert. And you brought Robert's name up, which made me flip the script on that. And through Robert is how I met Ralph from Planks, and you and Ralph, I believe, were already friends.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Yeah, and Ralph and those dudes on our second European tour, I was like, I'm going to just fucking book this thing myself. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe we had a Euro agent at that point. But either way, like, we went over there, and Ralph's the shit, man. So are all the other dudes in his band. They gave us all their gear. You know, we fucking drove the Mannheim. Actually, we didn't even drive the Mannheim. They brought it to us. So, like, and that's, like, the weird world of, like, punk and hardcore that I think is cool. Like, I don't talk to Ralph all the time, like, on text or email or anything, but I know if I hit Ralph up, like, I'd have a fun conversation with him, you know? And, like, I talk to Robert pretty much, like, fucking monthly still at this point. And I don't have shit to do with shit about music anymore. But it's, like, you're just friends with people. But, I don't even know where I'm going with this. You can take over the conversation here.
Yeah, well, Ralph is involved in this podcast too, man. Like we have
okay.
Yeah, we have like 2 episodes a month basically that we do together. And you know, he's like definitely interested in us talking about this stuff too, you know. And I met Ralph like in, I don't know, like 2003 or 4 or something like that. And it was on tour, and it was in the Anodyne, and like he was like the one dude I was like, man, this guy is fucking so badass. And I'd met a lot of crappy people over there on that particular tour because it was you know, D-Beat Crust was like huge, and we were not one of those bands. And you know, night after night I would listen to some German guy tell me how the US sucks, and like meanwhile he's got every single patch on his punk rock gear is like all U.S. bands. You know, he's got like, you know, like a fucking His Hero's Gone patch, and like you know, From Ashes Rise was big at the time, and
Sure.
you know, that whole thing. Meanwhile, he's like, oh yeah, you know, the U.S. sucks, and like you guys don't have any good bands, and I'm like, oh, have you checked out your gear here? Like what you're wearing, it's all U.S. bands,
Yeah,
Drop
I mean,
Dead and all this stuff, you know.
you know the gig though. That's the fucking standard like flag bearer's uniform for shit, and it's like it was the same thing going on in New York for a while. It's like, hey man, like good shoelace is a headband, fucking epic style, dude. And then like those dudes would fucking vibe me out. Cause it's like I would fucking like roll up and like just fucking looking like me. And it's like, just fucking shut up, man. Like, don't even buy. And it's, why do you know bands like the Shit Lickers? Maybe it's because I'm a fucking punk kid and I fucking have been. So like, piss off. And but you know what though, man? Like that's like one of those things where I started to feel my age.
Yeah.
Because like I would tour with younger bands too when I stopped doing music and just started working for bands. I would tour with some of these younger bands, and like there was like one that was like a avant-garde like noise-ish type thing. And we were talking one day, and like I brought up Grey Wolves, and they were like, "How do you know about that?" And I was like, "Oh, fucking shut up." You know what I mean? It's just like, give me a break. But then I also realized though too, Mike, and like maybe you had this like, or maybe not, because like we're different people with how we like look at stuff. But like, when I was a kid, there was a skateboard in a record shop, like legitimately like a few blocks from my like house in the little crappy town that I grew up in, like fucking 10,000 people max or something. And there was this place called Music Madness, and they sold skateboards and records. So I would go there, and like I was like getting into like punk and hardcore. So I would like buy this shit, and there'd be these older dudes that would be like laughing at me for like buying like Youth of Today records and stuff. And they'd be like, those bands suck. Like you're buying that, but you don't even know about this. And in my head, I was like, fuck you. I was like, I'm buying what I fucking want to buy. And so I tried not to be like that with people, but when like younger kids try to vibe you out like that, it's like, yo man, like I know that this shit is new to you, so like calm down a little bit. But at the same time, I also have to realize that, like I said earlier, like I'm in my mid 40s, man. So like when you're young, you should be fucking righteous, and you should be a little bit fucking arrogant, and you should be like a little bit like, fuck you, you old asshole. So like I agree with all that shit and I like it, but sometimes I'm still just like, fuck off, you little nerd. Like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like leave me alone. Like don't make me fucking tell you about the White House show that I was at, But like then it just becomes like old guy talk, So it's like sometimes I like to get into it just to prove a point, and then other times I'm like, oh wow, really? Tell me all about the RRR catalog, like let's hear it. So
Yeah, that's I always try to stay aware of that too, because I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm like substantially older than a lot of you motherfuckers out there, and I'm like, let's let you do your thing, and I sometimes it cuts deep, and I'm like, all right, look, this is the deal, and like, I like lay it down, but like mostly I'm just let people do their thing, and I'm like, all right, cool, man, whatever, I'll go back home and listen to like UFO and stuff like that,
yeah, exactly, man. Like I'm gonna listen to fucking some old Scorpions records, and I'm gonna be fucking happy. So like, just like leave me alone in my like little world, and like it's fine. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like that stuff too. Like the longer that I stuck around, like in music too, like and I stuck around like so long, I think because like I started to make like proper adult money like towards the end when I started to like tour with bands and like do other like work for other bands. But like I fucking hated it, man. Like there was only like one or two bands that like I truly genuinely enjoyed like being on tour with, and the rest was just like a fucking shit job. It's like, yo man, like I'm not your paid friend and I'm not your fucking servant. Like my whole fucking gig here is to get you guys from fucking point A to point B, to make sure that all your fucking money is straight, and to make sure that everybody fucking stays alive and doesn't fucking overdose on the fucking bus. So like, and even that was too much. Like I'm not your fucking babysitter. Like I shouldn't have to argue with you that you should fucking not do this tonight and that you should just go to bed. And then there was people that would, and it was like, some tours would end, and like these people would still be like fucking hitting me up for shit. It's like, motherfucker, I'm not booking you a vacation. Like I'm not your fucking servant, man. And then it's also like, why don't I have any beer in my hotel room? I don't fucking know, man. I'm halfway home. I'm going to the fucking airport. Maybe walk your ass to the fucking liquor store down the street, or fucking call room service and ask if they have it, you fucking dumb asshole. So like, I don't know, man. There's like a whole bunch of that stuff too that like went on in my life of music. And like that like started to like make me like really like bitter. And like there was a couple bands towards the end where it was like, you're a fucking clown. Like I know that you think you're this fucking badass and everybody respects you, but like everyone's just fucking laughing, you know, from like top to bottom. And like if you can't even fucking see that about yourself, I don't know what to say. And like I sometimes like cringe because like I was that dude. You know what I mean? And like maybe in your life, like you had like a reflective period and like you were like, fuck man, I was that dude too. Because like I think if I would have been nicer to people or maybe just like bent a little bit or not shot my mouth off right away, I would have had like a better time with things. You know what I mean? Or maybe I would have got more opportunities to like do stuff for other bands and shit. But that wasn't the case and I wasn't ready for that in my life yet at that point.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, the last couple of years, maybe all this time off the road and just being locked up here by myself for like 2 years, basically. I'm with you on that, man, for sure. I like look back and I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have handled things differently, and but you can't. I don't regret, but I also want to kind of learn from those experiences,
Oh yeah, for sure. Like there's like a ton of stuff that I've done in my life that I was like, oh God, like why did I fucking do that? You know what I mean? Or like, why did I act that way in this situation? And it's like it's easy for people to point fingers now. And like it's also easy for me to criticize myself now. But like I would like to think that I'm objective enough to be like, man, I was such a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Or like I wouldn't have liked me then either. You know what I'm saying? So it's like but that's like I guess like the age and wisdom thing that like people talk about, and it's like, and if I was still just like, nah man, I'm fucking good, and I was still living how I lived then, like that's fucking pretty painful on my end, you know.
Yeah. So one of the things I thought was cool is that you actively retired from playing in a band.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do it anymore, man. Like but go ahead, continue.
No, I just thought that was cool because I was like, wow, that's you fucking make a decision and you stick with it, man. I think that's great, because like many people waffle on stuff all the time,
It was twofold. Like I touched on it a couple times since we've been talking, but like I just didn't want to be at home. Like I wanted to be gone. Like I was running away from like life in general. And then when Gods and Queens got in this fucking really bad car accident over there, like I had like this like I was just sitting in the ambulance going from like this fucking field that they found us in to like this fucking hospital. I didn't even know what country we were in at the moment. So it's like I'm just sitting in this fucking ambulance by myself. And I'm sorry, there was a woman, Sarah, with us as well. I forgot she was there too. So like her and I were sitting there, total silence, and I'm just like, why am I even fucking here? You know what I mean? I was like, why did this happen to me? And I was like, this happened to me because I don't want to fucking be an adult. This happened to me because like going places and like just being away from my life is more important to me than actually getting my life together. And I think that was like a little bit of a seed planted in my head where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? I was like, it's not really working. It's not like I'm making like a fucking fortune off of doing this. Like it's a lot of work with like very little reward. And like right now it's a lot of work for a big fucking catastrophe, So I was like, started to like plant that, and like we came back and like we tried to play like a couple more shows off of that, which I gotta say, man, if your band gets in a car accident, fantastic publicity. That's the fucking best publicity that you're gonna fucking get, man. Like you can't hire a fucking PR person to get you fucking publicity like that. But just that we came back, we played a bunch of shows, and like it was just like, man, I'm not happy. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not happy. I'm not stoked. I don't fucking like being here. Like our friend Luca from Slovenia came over and lived with Ben and I in Philadelphia for like 3 months, and he was like, no, you need to keep going, man. You're always punk. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like over it. I was tired of like buying gear. I was tired of changing guitar strings. I was tired of like fucking going to Guitar Center and getting fucking patch cables. Like, I was just tired of the whole fucking thing, man. Like, I was just burnt out and I was just fucking totally over it. And then I just didn't want to do it, and we stopped. And like, as soon as I stopped, right out of the gate, my friend Timmy Hefner, who was booking Chaos and Teos, was like, hey, can you help me with this? And I was like, sure. So I went down there and I helped Timmy 1 year with Chaos and Teos, and then I became better friends with my friend Logan. And then Logan was like, hey man, like I tour manager's band Ice Age, like you should come along and do merch. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And in my head, I was like still running away, but I was at least getting paid a little bit of money to do it. And then Logan couldn't do an Ice Age tour, and I just started taking over Ice Age. And then my other friend Greg was like, "Hey, you want to do merch on this Nazum tour?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I go out with Greg and Nazum, and then all of a sudden I'm like, "Wait a second!" I was doing merch on that tour, and it was like a deal where I would get paid X versus X amount of percentage of what the band was. And then I was like, "I'm making more money on this tour than fucking everybody in this van." So then all of a sudden, like, that just kind of became my thing. And then I was just touring with bands. And like I said, like, I started to do like some bigger things towards the end. And the bigger it got, the less happier I was. And I was like, I just don't want to fucking do this. And then coupled up with like, you know, being married and like having my daughter and stuff, I was like, like my daughter thought I worked on an airplane for a little bit because like she was always because like she was so young that like we were always going back and forth to the airport. So like she thought I worked on a plane, and I was like, all right,
That's
man,
funny.
this is fucking. Yeah, it was funny, but it was also like a little eye-opening, you know what I mean? Where I was like, all right, man, enough's enough.
It's like daddy's a cowboy, you know, or something.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, and like that one was like the same thing. I was like, all right, man, like I'm here, I'm a PR in Canada, you know, like I got to get my shit together a little bit more. And I was also like, I just want more. Like I didn't like relying on other people for like paying for my life. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, I have to be on tour because that's my job, and I need these fucking shitheads in this band that I don't really fucking like to take me on tour so I can get paid. And like I was never like that really, and I didn't like that. That's what I let myself like kind of like fall into. So I made an active point to like change that, and I did. And like it's has its ebb and flow. Sometimes when I'm at work, I'm like, and I'm like legitimately up to my neck in like mud and in water, and I'm like, why the fuck am I just not dealing with some fucking dumb asshole in Italy right now arguing with them about a bottle of tequila on the fucking rider versus fucking like being drenched and soaking wet and freezing cold. So it has its like the pros and cons.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I could do the crew thing, man. I tried it on one tour, and yeah, it just wasn't for me, man. It's like the whole point of like traveling's cool, you know.
Yeah,
but the point of living like that, for me at least, was being able to play, you know, and do,
yeah.
thing, you know. But yeah, that's a hard life, man. Now, one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about too is I've never really known you to be a very athletic person, you know. And
oh shit, here we go.
so how the fuck did you get into Muay Thai, man? I mean, you own a gym, or you're a partner in a gym up there now, and
yeah.
Over the years, you and I have had many discussions and conversations about training. So when did that all start for you?
When I decided to stop doing drugs, like straight up. Like my friend Charlie Catone owns a gym in Philadelphia called Eight Limbs Academy. And prior to that, there was this gym I would walk up and down the street, and I was like, it was a Muay Thai gym, and I'd always see people like hitting and kicking. I was like, man, I should fucking do that. You know, it was like one day. And then I knew Charlie fought. So he started working with me, and I was like, hey man, I think I want to try this. And he's like, just go. And like, that's a phrase that I use myself to everyone and anyone. And the second anybody asks me about it, I'm just like, just go. Like, just stop talking about it and just fucking go. Like, don't tell me that you're going to get in shape so you can go. You go to get in shape. But I started going, man, and, like, I liked it. I sucked. You know what I mean? I sucked for a long fucking time. But, like, I liked it. And then I was still traveling and touring all the time. So I would start to take my gear with me. And I would just start dropping in at gyms. Anytime that I had a day off, or anytime that, like, I was someplace early enough, I would look it up. And I'd go to gyms. Like, some gyms were fucking cool. Some gyms fucking sucked. Some gyms, even though I was just doing a drop-in, people were like super welcoming and accommodating. And other gyms, people just wanted my $25 to do the drop-in for the day. And like, I was just left alone onto my own fucking devices. But it like fucking took over. And like, I don't know, maybe that's like a thing where like that took over for me to replace doing music or something. But I just fucking ran with it, man. And then I was living in Nevada at the time, and I was at a gym called Nevada Muay Thai. And in hindsight, I have two thought methods about this. But like, one, I feel like sometimes I didn't learn a single solitary thing at that gym, except for getting hurt. And then two, I think I learned a lot at that gym, because that gym was kind of just like 3 minutes of fucking survival at a time, man. Like, I was going to that place and it was pretty much like, here's 3 techniques, bang them out. Okay, let's have open sparring. And you were sparring with everybody in the gym. And there's like a bunch of regional pros there, like high level regional amateurs and a couple pros. So I had a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of skill at that point, and I was like fucking chum in the water for the fucking sharks, man. But it made me figure shit out, and it made me figure shit out really quick. Is that the best way to learn something? I don't really know. You know, I don't teach people. If I'm leading a class up here, I don't really have people like kicking and punching each other in the head like full force. But I will definitely say that having people gun a fucking stiff 1-2 at me made me learn how to get the fuck out of the way of it. So there's like a whole bunch of different methods of thinking. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I've been doing that for a long fucking time already. And then it just so happened to pop up that the gym that we were at up here, a couple of us closed. It was a culmination of just like the pandemic and just, I think, the owner being just tired of having the gym. And it started with, let's just get some mats and let's rent a garage, and we're just going to train in a garage. And then it turned into, man, all these other people want to train too. Well, let's get a couple extra bags, and then we'll just get a little bit bigger garage. And then it just turned into full-fledged, like, opening the gym. So we've been open for almost exactly a month right now. And, like, so far, it's so fucking good, man. But I have nothing but positive stuff to say about Muay Thai. And I have nothing but positive stuff to say about like starting it. So like I'm the wrong guy to ask the question to, because I'll try to bully you into like going. You don't even have to go to my gym. Just go to a gym. You know, that's kind of my fucking stance on the whole thing. But yeah, so like that's kind of been like the trip, man. Like I'll go to a seminar anywhere at the drop of a hat if I fucking see one going on. I'll try to do a drop-in anywhere I go. Like if I go someplace, the first thing I do is I look up like Muay Thai gyms just to see if there's anything like happening. And like that's kind of the gig, man. And like that has become like my second job that I don't get paid for. So it's kind of like being in a band. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. Because did you ever like do any martial arts or any kind of athletic shit prior to
I
that?
wrestled from like fucking elementary school all the way up to high school, and then like once I started like piercing my ears and being a punk, like I was like, man, I'm over this shit. I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking doing push-ups for anybody. More importantly, I was like, I'm not fucking cutting weight for anybody anymore. Like I hated it, man. Like I was a little kid, like sleeping in garbage bags to suck water weight. You know what I mean? Like that's fucking stupid.
How
like,
much weight did you cut when you were wrestling?
I was probably in like 8th grade, and like I think that I was probably like trying to wrestle at like 105 or like 100 and like or 115, I think maybe. So like I was like cutting like a substantial amount of weight, and for like a little kid, like in beginning stages of adolescence, man, like and puberty and shit, like that's not good, you know. And like,
dude,
and what do you get out of it? You know what I mean? What do you truly get out of it? Like a shitty plastic trophy.
I got a theory. I got a theory about guys who wrestled that, especially at the lower weight classes, about how they like never grow.
Yeah.
Because like there's a couple of dudes that I went to high school with, and then like one guy like I met in my job, and I'm like, this fucking guy's like, he's like barely 5 feet tall, man. You know, and I was after a while I started talking to him, man, and I was like, oh, you know, like, oh, you watch the fights? Like, yeah, you know, I used to wrestle in high school, and I'm like, oh, how long?
Bingo.
He's like, I started when I was in like elementary school, and I went all the way through high school, and you know, I was like all county and all this stuff. And I was like, well, what weight class were you? And he's like 105 or something, like one of those really small ones. I'm like, yeah, this guy, like, this is completely, there's nothing quantitative to back this up, but I think that it stunts your growth at a young age. If you're sucking weight, you don't get enough nutrition or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of do too. It's like you're forcing yourself to be like malnutrition, and like you're fucking your body up like over and over and over again. And as I was just like a fucking stupid little kid. So like I would have like fucking 5 pounds to drop, and you know, I remember my dad would take me to the YMCA, and I'd cut holes in garbage bags for pants. I'd cut holes in them for my fucking head and my arms, and then I'd fucking duct tape it around myself. I'd get in the fucking steam room with like sweatpants, winter coats, and like sweatshirts on, and I would start skipping rope with a bunch of fucking naked old guys be like, that's right, kid, you gotta drop the fucking weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
most
like,
people don't. Back then, no one really knew the healthy way to do that, you know?
yeah, I mean, that was the only way that, like, especially I didn't have any fucking body fat on me then. I was a little kid. All I had was water weight. And like that couldn't have been fucking good. And then I'd go there and I'd be like barely able to stand on the fucking scale. And then what was the first thing that I would do? I would run to the concession stand. As soon as that scale hit 105 pounds, I'd sprint out and I'd start shoveling fucking candy in my mouth. Like, that's not the fucking best way to like go about it, you know? But I don't know. I think it sucks for like little kids, and like we have like a handful of people that are ready to start fighting at our gym already. Some of them came transferred over from the old gym, so it's not like they're like our brand new fighters, but like they're like, how much weight should I cut? And in my head, I'm like, none. Like, you're 18. Don't fucking bother. Like, this isn't an MMA gym. Like, you're not fucking getting like some kind of like regional contract off this shit where you're gonna get paid like $2 or $3 to have like a fight. Like, you're having amateur fights. Don't fuck yourself up, man. Like, just fucking do it. It's kind of like my same thought process on like hard sparring and shit. I used to think like hard sparring was like, what's up? I was like, man, you gotta, and I still kind of think you gotta taste a raw shin on your leg or get fucking cracked in the face like once or twice to respect what the fuck is actually going on. But do I think you should do that all the time? Hell no, man. But like, I look at, there's a handful of like really young kids at our gym and they just want to fucking smash. And I'm like, you fucking nimrods. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, knock it off. And other times I'll just be like, go ahead, you know, break each other's noses, fucking see what happens. You're not going to like it. But when you're young like that, you got to test the waters a little bit. So I think as a gym though, too, we're like trying to find our own like footing right now at the moment. And doing the gym, man, it's just like being in a band to me. And I have a real hard time, like I said earlier in this, like, I have a hard time playing well with others, and I'm having a hard time right now playing well with others. So like, there's like some growing pains with that one too. But like, it's fucking fun and it's fine. And on top of it, it's a Muay Thai gym. So if it's like, yo man, fuck off, I don't like how you're doing this. It's like, well, I know I can actually kick you a little bit later, and like it's gonna be okay. That's the way that operates for me at the moment.
Yeah, I like sparring more times at a lighter intensity. You know what I mean? Like, I think,
100%.
yeah, like it's cool. It's totally like it's, you shouldn't hard spar every week, you know, or I'm sorry, you should maybe do it once a week. Or actually, you shouldn't really go hard unless you're getting ready to go and fight somebody.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I think that going technical a couple times a week is probably the best angle to take as far as like getting your timing down and all that shit.
For sure. Like, you should be able to spar every single solitary day and not get hurt. You know what I mean? And like not go home and have your head feel like a hot television inside of it. Like, you should be able to like the whole point is to like play around and to like learn. And just what you said, like, you figure out your timing, you figure out like how to work your body. Like right now, like I had 2 back-to-back knee surgeries this year. So like I'm only doing the beginner's class. And like the beginner's classes, I've just truly been trying to be like, learn how to use your body. Like, if you're throwing left, return right. If you're throwing right, return left. Like, this is as basic as it can be. And like, some people are like, no, I just want to spar. And I'm like, like, the dickhead in me is like, go ahead, put your shit on, get in the ring. And then like the fucking like business owner in me that doesn't want to get sued is like, you're not fucking coming close. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, then there's those other people that like, some people just need to learn the hard way. Like, I was I need to learn the hard way type of guy. You definitely seem like you were like a hard way type of guy.
Yeah.
And then there's
for sure. The thing is with me though, it's like, before I did Muay Thai, I did like Taekwondo, and like I got kind of like the knucklehead stuff out during that. I was doing like tournaments all the time, and like, you know, you believe certain things, and then you get put in your place by somebody who's got more experience.
Yep.
But then like once, you know, when I started doing Muay Thai, I was like, all right, well, you know, this is like, I know how to kick people, and you know, and I got all this other shit I'm carrying over from before, you know. But then I got schooled over at Koban's when I was there too, you know, because I had no hands at all, you know.
Yeah, sure. And just like, you're a grown ass adult man, and there's fucking Koban who's got 10 or 15 years on top of you, who legitimately probably is just holding his hands up, not even touching you, and your ass is hitting the fucking floor over and over and over again. And it's demoralizing, and he's probably like fucking laughing at you as he's doing it.
And he's like 130 pounds too.
Yeah, exactly. But like, yo, man, like I was always envious that you were at that gym, which is what made me want to go there. So I was like, fuck, man. I was like, he's like learning from like a straight G. Like one of my like, I've watched Koban Deckers so many fucking times, like all of them, you know, over and over and over and over again. So it's like I know all of those fights fucking inside and out. But like, I love that style. Just like fucking those dudes were both like ignorant, fucking head down, biting the mouthpiece, and neither of them wanted to take a step backwards. And I loved it. I thought it was fucking awesome, man. Like, it was fantastic.
Actually, the guys I train with now used to train there too. It's I live out in New Jersey now, and since I've been out here, I trained at actually 4 different places. There was this place called Driven, which Spida is and James were the 2 guys that used to train with Koban, and there's like a bunch of other dudes that I kind of recognized actually when I first showed up there. And then Spida split off and he just opened up his own gym, which was where I'm at right now. And there's a couple of guys there that were at Koban's. But what's interesting though is the style that where he's teaching is more on that outside style than like the bullhead style, you know.
Sure. I mean, if you want to press people, you gotta be prepared to fucking, you know, that's almost like you're gonna take 2 to give 1. You know what I mean? It's like, but at least in my opinion, like not everyone's able to just steamroll people and go forward and like use the long guard to like get in and start clinching people up and get into a firefight. Like I try to, like, our gym doesn't have like a definitive style yet, which I'm like 2 ways on. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know, man, like maybe everyone needs to be a little bit more uniform in how they teach and like how they like show stuff. And then the other times I'm just like, no, like this should be like everybody should be doing everything and like anything, and they should be getting a good all encompassing like style from everybody. Because like I like Dutch drills, man. I like to do it that way. Like some of the other guys at the gym fucking hate that I do it that way, and they just want to do like pad classes and they want to just fucking do a million teeps. Or like some of the other guys just want to do like more like, you know, like high intensity like interval training with the people and then have them do bag work. But we have so many beginners at our gym because it's brand new too, where it's like I run into this problem of, do I try to show them the stuff that I like, or do I try to show them the stuff that is going to help them like actually be able to hit somebody if it comes down to it? And then at the same time, I'm like, I can talk obviously like this, like we're doing right now. I can talk for hours about something, but it's like, I'll try to talk to people and I'll be like, look, if you're throwing your fucking right hand, you can slip with that. And then if you do that correctly, you can smash the liver and then you reload it and then you slip their cross and then you come to the head. I say this stuff to people and they don't get it. So then I'll be like, all right, man, like I tried to do some theory with everybody. They're not really getting it. Nobody's sweating. And then I'll be like, all right, get over to the bag and start doing bag work. And then the same people that aren't getting it will then like cry and complain that like I'm doing too much bag work with them and they can't keep up. It's like, you got to pick one. And like, maybe that's my fault as like a teacher at the moment, because like, I'm no fucking coach, man. Like I'm just like some dude that knows some shit that had a little bit of money that got with 2 other like fucking dum-dums and like decided to try to open up a gym, which is the worst fucking business investment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like we're never making our money back. Like we probably spent like, I mean, we spent like a small fortune to open up like a really small fucking gym. And it's like, dude, we're not breaking even on it. You know what I mean? Like we'll break even on the rent every month, but like we're never paying ourselves back for it. Like this is like straight up like a labor of love. And like if people get something out of it, cool. But yeah, styles and shit are weird though, man. Like I said, like I'm still conflicted. I like high volume like type of dudes. Like I like Damian Trainer. I like how Ramon Decker's like through stuff. I like the Sitman Chai gym, like heavy hands with like ripping leg kicks. But like sometimes I'll show like a lot of volume and people don't get it. They're like, why are we throwing? We're never gonna land this in a fight. And I'm like, yeah, you're not. Like you're never gonna land a fucking 12 hit combo in a fight. But if you start stringing it together all the time and you build that habit of like, oh, I know that I can flow from this to this to this to this to this. If it gets interrupted, or if you see somebody make the mistake, you're like, oh, I remember this piece. I can do that. But if you're only ever training for like a 1, 2, 3 leg kick and you want to smash the leg, like it's probably not going to really be there, because that's all you're going to be looking for the whole time. Like you got to like know other things. And somebody else that's like more experienced than me could come right behind me and say that this fucking guy's a dumbass. He doesn't know what he's saying, which might be fucking true.
No, but
like,
I think that there's validity to that. I mean, if you're training like these long combos, like maybe in a fight you land the third or fourth strike. You know what
Correct.
I mean? Like you're not,
Correct.
but
That's the
you
exact
have
thought
like
process.
the mental, the sort of muscle memory to counter and throw something behind something else. You know?
That's the entire point, man. At least to me, that's the entire point. And I watch so much like fight content, and like I'm not one of those people that's like thinks that like I'm not one of those people that thinks like YouTube is like the devil. Like I'm all about it, man. Like I fucking watch this shit all the time. It's like I have like free seminars in my back pocket because I go on YouTube and I watch so many people. Like you know what I mean? It's like you watch it, you slow it down, you break it down, and like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I like that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't ever do that myself or show that to somebody like myself. And then at the same time, I see stuff and I'm like, holy shit, man. I was like, I never learned that. You know, like you can fucking add that onto that and it turns into this. Like, oh man, that's fucking sneaky. And then that's the stuff that I'll take and I'll usually try it with my friend Justin because Justin's pretty open as well. And like him and I will like before my knee injuries, like him and I would like go to the gym just by ourselves for hours and like try goofy stuff. And like some of it like worked and some of it didn't. But I don't know, man. Like I'm all about it, but it's also like I made like a conscious effort to not show anybody anything that I can't do myself because I think that that's disingenuous, you know. Because like I didn't have some wild fight career, like I didn't have like fucking 40 or 50 fights like in Thailand and then come over and rec shop in North America. Like I'm just some fucking dum dum that fucking never stopped training that just kept going and going and going and going and going and had a bunch of low level fucking smokers. Like I'm wide open about that because the last thing I want to do is be like a disingenuous fucking guy that's like trying to feed people a line of shit. And that goes back to me saying like I don't show stuff that I can't do. So I'm not going to show anybody like a wheel kick because I can't fucking do it. So why would I tell you like, hey, do this technique? I don't know if it works, you know what I mean? But hey, you guys try it out, and I can't do it myself. But I know there's gyms out there that have people like that.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff kind of fucking sucks. So, but you know what I will show you is I'll show you the fucking straight up Ernesto Host special. I'm gonna fucking show you a jab, stepping on your cross, liver shot, leg kick. I'm showing you that a million times because that has worked for me. And I feel like if it's worked for me, it has the possibility to work for you. So that's the vibe that I run in like John, one of the other owners, John's a lefty, and he's big on fighting off his back foot. Like I hate it, you know. I don't think it's good, but it works for him. And like if he wants to show people how to fight off of his back foot, show him how to fight off the back foot. Like that goes completely against what I like to do. You know what I mean? Or what I would like to show people. Our friend Justin is like more of a technician. Like Justin can like work all around you. He like uses all facets. And the other owner, Sean, like Sean's like a fucking big dude and Sean will entice you in, you know what I mean? And then you're getting cracked with an uppercut. Like that's his fucking shit, you know. He likes to be on the inside. So like everybody has like their own like vibe that's like going on. And like, you know, it's good. We have like people that are in and out of the gym. Like we have a couple guys that are in the gym that have had like 40, 50 fights already that have spent like a lot of time in Thailand, a lot of time in Cambodia. That they fought like all over Canada and the States. And we have like a bunch of regional guys. One, I don't know when this is coming out, and it's not like anybody's gonna lives in Vancouver that's gonna like buy a ticket to the show. But our friend Jimmy Nguyen, who like our gym kind of sponsors on a very low level, he's like a ripping like regional dude, you know, and he's got like fucking 15, 20 fights under his belt for like Muay Thai as well. And then we have a bunch of like low level amateur guys and girls that are just like starting out. So like right now our gym's exciting because there's a fight coming up on the 12th. So like there's 3 people that are like friends and affiliates that are like fighting not out just of our gym, but are using it to like prepare for their fights. And like I want to touch on that quick too. Like this was all totally flipped now from like a music nerd thing to like Muay Thai, but like I'm all about everybody training at every gym. Like I don't believe in this shit where it's like you're my student and this is my gym and you're gonna learn what I say. Fuck all that, man. Like, you know, I've gone to gyms before where it's like I've thrown a hook thumb down and the gym instructor, coach, whatever, would be like, no, that's wrong. And in my head, I'm like, is it really now? You know, like explain to me, instead of telling me why it's wrong, show me why you think it's wrong. Because I think you can throw your hook thumb up or thumb down. I think that you can pivot on your hook or you don't have to pivot on your hook. Like it's situational, man. Like there's other gyms I've gone to, like where I walked in the door for the very first day and someone threw a teep at me and I caught it over under and fucking pulled and ripped across. And they're like, no, you know, that's wrong. That's not my style. And I was like, okay, like but why is it wrong? And you're only going to show me one way. So then I become fucking very predictable if I only do it one way. So I think everybody should train at every gym. I think that everybody should train with a bunch of different people, and you should learn like all the encompassing styles. Because like I don't want to be I don't want to be like a pattern. I want to be a puzzle. You know what I mean? Like I don't want somebody to just go, all right, man, I know when I spar with this dude that he only does A, B, C, D, E, and F. I want the entire alphabet in my like fucking like back pocket to be able to use. But that's like my stance on that. And it's also, I think it's because like over the years, Mike, like I truly genuinely tried to like drop my ego on a lot of stuff. It's still there, man. Like everybody fucking has one. But like Muay Thai is a fucking very humbling fucking sport. And it's especially very humbling when you first fucking start. And I tried to like keep that like intact here. So it's like, dude, go to other gyms. I'm not too worried if you leave our gym. Do I want our gym to succeed? Like, yeah, of course. I would love to have everybody as like our students. I want our gym to be like blown out. You know, I want it fucking packed all the time. But like, I'm not going to throw a fit if somebody's like, hey man, I'm going to go to this other gym. In fact, yesterday I got a text that was like, look, I really like your classes. I really like this. I really like that. But it's too far from my house. And some of my other friends are training at this gym. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Like, what? You don't even have to tell me. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate the text, but like, I don't own you. Like, I like, you're not an orphan from a farm. Then like, you're fighting for me to like provide a fucking like future for yourself. Like, go anywhere you want. And I think that should be the way it is everywhere. But like, some people don't agree with that like sentiment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, out here, man, there's fucking gyms everywhere. So it's like people
Yeah.
always train different spots, and I mean, even Spider, who owns his own spot, he teaches at other schools too. Actually,
Yeah, dude. It like that's kind of how it is a little bit here as well. But like, I'm sure that like you have it. I mean, I know you have it like on the East Coast where it's like those schools people will call them like McDojos and whatnot, and it's
Yeah.
like I feel like that's the shit where like people start to get weird, where they're just like, this is our style of MMA or this is our style of jujitsu, and if you're gonna fight our style, and I'm like, get fucking bent, man. Like, are they paying you money? They're paying you money to be a member at your fucking gym, and there's something to be said for that. But like, you don't fucking own them, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, go anywhere and go everywhere. But like, that's just how I roll, you know. And like, I went to Gavin's gym, Gavin Van Black, like
Yeah.
a handful of times when at his old location, you know. I went there like a bunch, like doing drop-ins. I did a private with Gavin here and there, I think, and I became like tight with him over that. And it's like, I think that you should do that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's gyms here that like maybe our students wind up fighting them, and that's cool, man. But like, still, like, fucking cross train. Come to the other spots. Go to other places. Learn as much as you can. Like, trying to only learn like one thing to me equates the same way as like being like, I only listen to one style of music and one style only. It gets fucking stale, you know. Like, don't get me wrong, I like eating pizza, but like that would be like if I only ate pizza every single solitary day. After a while, you get like a little bit burned out. But I think it's the same thing with like Muay Thai and just martial arts in general. But that's just my stance. But to answer your question in this very long-winded form, yes, I have partnered up and opened up a gym up here with my friend Sean and my friend John, and our friend Justin helps teach, and then our other friend Dan, he came back from like a 2-year Cambodian exile, and he's like pretty much going to be in charge of the actual like fighter like team program. He's just waiting to get his like second vax. He didn't want to get it while he was over there because Canada didn't accept it as a vaccination before he came back. So he's still waiting for that one to pop through. And yeah, that's kind of it, man. So like, hopefully it keeps going. Like, it's like I said, it's been open for about a month, and everything is like so far so good. So, you know, I'm sure at some point someone's gonna get their nose broken and like shit will go downhill for a moment, but that's the nature of the biz.
What's the name of the gym?
It's just East Van Muay Thai. Purely simple. They want to have some fucking dumbass name like fucking Black Snake fucking martial arts or like some fucking dumbass shit. It's like representative of where it's at in the city. It's representative of what it is. Like, yeah, it's also like, what am I gonna do? Like, the three of us put our name on it, you know, like fucking John, Jamie, and Sean's fucking Muay Thai gym. Like, get the fuck out of here. So, but yeah, that's it. It's super simple if you're in Vancouver. And if you're in Vancouver and you're playing like a hardcore band or a metal band and you train, like, roll through. It ain't too far from the rickshaw, and that's probably where you're fucking playing. So you can fucking stroll on down.
And if you're playing at the Rickstro, you could probably get some government heroin too. Actually,
Woo! That is a fucking wild area. Our old gym that we were all at was 4 blocks from there. So like I was in that neighborhood like every single solitary day. And at one point before my time in Vancouver, the same gym had a different location that was even closer to the rickshaw with an entrance in the alley, which was like, I don't know, man. We could turn this conversation into something fucking hectic, but like drug reform, man, I don't fucking know, dude. I do not know what I fucking think about that.
Don't wear flip flops in that alleyway, man.
100%. Sure. Don't wear flip flops. Don't lean on a telephone pole. Don't fucking just don't. You know what I mean? Like It's fucking hectic down there, man. Like it is fucking super hectic. But for the most part, like that area is like that's its own human anomaly. And for those people that are like, what are these two fucking dum-dums talking about? Like, think of The Wire when they decided to legalize drugs in that one little area, because that's what it is, but you ain't just buying weed. Like, it's wild. That's all I can say.
Is there any social media presence that people can follow for this gym?
Yeah, the website is EVMT, East Van Muay Thai, but just the first letters of each one, .ca, fucking Canada, not .com. And then the Instagram is East Van Muay Thai, and like that's kind of the gig at the moment, man. It's just like both of those. So yeah, like I said, if you're up here and you play in a punk band or a hardcore band, indie rock band, whatever, like by all means, man, roll through. Like I would be stoked to have people just doing drop-ins to check it out.